All right, today we're diving into something pretty wild. It's the blueprint for a new global exchange called XNEX. And their goal? Well, it's pretty radical. They want to make it possible for you to trade a piece of a skyscraper just as easily as you trade a stock. So we're going to break down their entire plan and see exactly how they think they can pull this off.
No, really, just stop and think about that for a second. Imagine if those huge, traditionally hard-to-sell assets, we're talking real estate, priceless art, even shares in private companies, could be, well, shattered into tiny digital pieces. And then you could trade those pieces instantly from anywhere in the world. I mean, that's the kind of future we're digging into right now.
So, what this all comes down to is a plan to build a bridge between the physical assets we can all see and touch and the lightning-fast global world of Web3. It's a huge idea. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of how they're planning to make it work. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at why this is such a huge opportunity in the first place. Then, we'll get properly introduced to XNEX and see what makes its engine tick. After that, we'll see who's actually behind this whole thing. And to wrap it up, we'll look at their pretty ambitious roadmap all the way out to 2027. Right, so first things first. Why even bother building this bridge? Well, it all comes down to a massive, and I mean multi-trillion-dollar opportunity.
Get this. According to the documents we're looking at, and they're citing some heavy hitters like Boston Consulting Group, the market for these tokenized real-world assets could hit an absolutely staggering $16 trillion by 2027. So why the explosion? It's all about one word: liquidity. It's about unlocking all that value that's just stuck in things that are hard to sell. This isn't some tiny niche concept. No, this is being talked about as the next huge wave in the financial world. Okay, before we go any further, let's get our terms straight. The first big piece of this puzzle is something called an RWA, which stands for Real World Asset. It's pretty simple, actually. You take something you can touch, a building, a famous painting, even a slice of a private company, and you create a digital token that basically says, hey, I own this, and that token lives on the blockchain. But wait, it's not just about physical stuff. There's another side to this coin. The second key idea is the RDA, or Real Digital Asset. Now, these are things that are born digital. Think about intellectual property, or the rights to your data, or a patent for a new invention. The goal here is to take these invisible assets and give them a solid, verifiable form that you can actually trade. All right, so now that we've got our heads around RWAs and RDAs, let's finally meet the platform that's designed to bring them all together under one roof, XNEX. Now, according to their own plan, XNEX is not just another crypto exchange. They're positioning it as a global digital asset superhub. That's a big claim. The whole mission is to create one single place where you can turn both real-world assets and digital assets into tokens, manage them, and trade them. The whole shebang, all in one ecosystem. And yeah, it's a seriously ambitious vision. They want this platform to be 4 different things all at once. 1, an exchange for assets. 2, a platform for managing your wealth. 3, a payment system. And 4, a community run by its users, through a DAO. That's a decentralized autonomous organization. That's where the members actually get to vote on the big decisions.
Okay, but a platform this ambitious, how does it actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine that's supposed to power all of this.
So the core strategy here is something they call the RWA plus RDA dual engine. Think of it like this. You take the stability of physical, real-world assets, that's the RWA part, and you combine it with the massive growth potential of digital rights and IP, that's the RDA part. The idea is that together, they create a more balanced and powerful financial ecosystem than anything we have today.
And this is where XNEX really thinks it has the edge. This table, which is straight from their plan, kind of lays it all out. It shows how they stack up against both old-school traditional finance and the current world of DeFi. Their whole argument is this. Traditional finance is kind of murky and hard to get into. DeFi is transparent, but man, can it be volatile. They're saying their RWA and RDM model gives you the best of both worlds. Total transparency, backed by real assets, and super easy for anyone to get involved.
So what's the fuel for this whole engine? Well, it's their own native token called XNXR, and it's not just a one-trick pony. It's designed to do 4 different jobs. It's the gas you use to pay for transactions. It's your voting ballot for making decisions in the DAO. It's the key that unlocks special investment products. And finally, you can actually use it for payments. And if you look at how they're distributing these tokens, you can really see their strategy.
The biggest piece of the pie, a full 35%, is going straight into growing the ecosystem itself, funding the process of turning more assets into tokens. Then you've got these big chunks set aside to reward users through things like asset power and a VIP program. And of course, a solid 10% is held back just for the community to govern itself. It really shows where their priorities are. All right, a project this big, you've got to wonder, who's actually behind it all? Who's driving this thing? Let's take a look at the corporate muscle and the leadership that's mentioned in their plan. So the project is being backed or incubated by a company called Dragon Capital Group, or DRGV. And these guys are not newcomers to the scene. We're talking about a Nasdaq-listed financial group that was founded way back in 1977. So they're bringing decades of old-school experience in finance, real estate, and tech to this very new school venture. And to get more specific, the actual day-to-day running of the global operations is handled by a subsidiary. It's called Phoenix Horizon Digital Capital Holdings. And their whole job really is to make this Web3 strategy happen for the main parent company. And the chairman of Dragon Capital Group, Jack Guan, put it perfectly. He said, let real assets be verified on the blockchain and let global capital flow freely. I mean, that one sentence, it really just sums up the entire mission, doesn't it? Okay, so that's the grand vision. But what's the timeline? How do they plan to get from here to there? Let's check out the roadmap they've laid out. So they've broken it down into a few key phases over the next couple of years. It all kicks off in late 2025 with the big global launch of the exchange and their token. Then, in 2026, it's all about expansion, rolling out across Asia, Europe, and North America, and getting that community governance system up and running. By the end of that year, they want to start connecting the dots, integrating these tokenized assets with actual real-world companies. And the big long-term goal for 2027 and beyond, to make their token the go-to standard for settling transactions in this whole new asset space. And they've got a tagline that really pulls it all together. XNEX, redefining trust, rebuilding finance. I mean, that is a bold, bold claim. They're basically saying they want to fix the trust problems in the old system while building a completely new one from scratch. And all of this leaves us with one massive question. Look, we've just walked through one company's very detailed plan for how to do this. But if you zoom out and look at the whole picture, could this idea, tokenizing all the world's physical and digital assets, could it really be the next great financial revolution? Now that is something to think about.